Yes, family, welcome back. As you guys know by now, I normally take 2 days off throughout the weekend. I like to enjoy my hobbies, get out there and live life. But I always got time for you to make sure you young kings are always being safe. But I'm also wondering why nobody's talking about this particular story. But nevertheless, I always got your back. And it's important that you learn how to move. Now, I'm pretty sure when other content creators hear this, they may try to spin the story about this is the reason why you shouldn't date certain types of people. I don't get into that. I think people have issues no matter what race they are. But if you're going to be out here dating, you gotta be careful. So in this particular story, a young man thought he was getting lucky with a female that he happened to meet on a dating app. And he tried to skip the steps of learning who this woman was to get straight down to the nookie. But in this particular story, the shop wasn't closed. She appeared to give the man the illusion that the shop was open. But sometimes you fellas got to slow up that process because you might not be safe. Because when you are dealing with somebody who is dysfunctional, you got to learn when to get out. And that means it's time to run. And this is a cautionary tale, so make sure that you young fellas are paying attention. Because this could have been you. Without further ado, let's get into it.
If you ever needed a cautionary tale about online dating, this is a strong contender.
One alleged victim in Colorado Springs went from hooking up to being tied up. And what happened next sounds like something straight out of a horror movie. Good evening, I'm Bart Bedsole.
And I'm Heather Skold. Thanks for making us your choice for your news at 10 o'clock. Tinder terror. Tonight, 13 Investigates is learning startling new details about a Tinder date that turned violent inside a Colorado Springs apartment.
Investigative reporter Sean Rice is live at the Hills Apartments along East Cache La Poudre with more on this bizarre case. Sean?
Yeah, but Heather, a 21-year-old man arrived here at this apartment complex after meeting a girl on the dating app Tinder. Mere minutes after entering her apartment, he found himself tied up and bleeding profusely after being stabbed multiple times by a kitchen knife.
Pretty shocking to know somebody lives right around the corner is capable of doing this.
Lori Gloria says the Hills apartment doesn't typically see a lot of police activity. They were out in force this past Wednesday night. Court records say Colorado Springs police were there to arrest 22-year-old Lauren Dooley on felony kidnapping and assault charges. She's accused of tying up and cutting a man she had just invited over that night.
It scares me. I mean, I saw the gentleman, he was cut pretty good, and to think that somebody could do that is pretty scary.
Police records say Dooley used a kitchen knife to cut the man's shoulder before placing a belt around his neck and choking him for 20 seconds. The arrest affidavit says Dooley even ordered food from DoorDash, warning the victim, quote, "If you scream or say anything, I'll kill you." After Dooley fell asleep, the man was able to break free and run into the parking lot. It's where Gloria found the pair of young adults.
When I came outside, there was a gentleman outside. He was bleeding and he didn't have any clothes on. And there was a young lady standing in front of him. It was pretty scary.
A search of the apartment revealed a kitchen knife, several blood-soaked rags, and blood in the bathroom. Court records say Dooley refused to speak or answer questions from investigators. She also did not answer her door when 13 Investigates sought answers from the 22-year-old. Now the tight-knit apartment community can only wait and watch, hopeful that this Tinder terror was a one-off, isolated incident.
This is really unexpected. Like I said, all our neighbors here watch out for each other, so I hope nothing like this happens again.
This is the first time Lauren Dooley has been charged with a crime in the state of Colorado. She posted a $25,000 cash bond and is out of jail this evening. She will be back in court later this week. Reporting live in Colorado Springs, Sean Rice, 13 Investigates.
Now, being that I bring you the real, we had to look a little deeper into this story. And I believe that this is the reason why most content creators are not talking about it. But let's explore. Colorado woman tied up, Tinder date, then plunged, choked, and threatened to finito him, police say. There's always some foolishness in this particular state for some reason that happens to find its way towards you. I don't know why that is, but you got to be careful. Lauren Dooley, 22 years old, was arrested Wednesday, September 28th, after Colorado Springs police officers responded to an apartment complex in the 2500 block of, I don't even want to butcher that up, but you heard it in the video. The officers had received a call around 5:45 p.m. that evening where they heard the 21-year-old victim saying he was bleeding all over the bed and telling someone, "Because you cut me, and you're going to delete me," according to an arrest affidavit obtained by Fox 21. Responding officers found a male naked and bleeding in the parking lot of the apartment complex who needed help. The victim was seen backing away from Dooley, who appeared to have the blood smeared on her arms and hands, according to an arrest affidavit. The victim accused her of tying him up and cutting him. The victim told officers the two had met on Tinder. They agreed to go to her apartment, where she took her clothes off and performed a sloppy toppy session on him before using, I guess they meant to say duct tape, to bind the victim's wrists and ankles together. The victim said he found it odd, but consented to it, according to the affidavit. Now let's take a pause right there. Yo, if you ain't with the freaky deaky shit, don't be with the freaky deaky shit. I'm dead ass on that, and I'm sorry to be cursing right now. But this stuff is serious, and you guys gotta stop going along with things trying to get straight down to an end result of spicy time. The dating process is serious. A lot of times when you meet a woman, it's important to go out with her. Whether that be just walking down the block with her or seen at a restaurant, going to the movies. You got to know who this woman is. You can't just go straight to, "I think I'm going to get lucky," because you might be talking and dealing with a crazy person who doesn't have your best interests at heart. Now, there's no way in hell I would let a woman do something like that to me. I don't find that type of stuff interesting. But if you're not with it, you're not with it, and you got to be able to speak up. There is no point in consenting to something that you don't agree with. Keep that in mind. At some point, Dooley got out a kitchen knife and demanded the victim go to the bedroom, at which point he no longer consented to stay at her apartment. The victim obeyed Dooley for fear of his life and got into her bed. Dooley then got on top of him and cut his left shoulder before choking him with her hands and then with a belt, the affidavit said. Dooley became upset that the victim was bleeding all over her bed, so she told him to get into the bathtub, the affidavit said. He complied and Dooley ordered food from DoorDash. Talk about bad shit. She allegedly told him, "If you scream or say anything, I'll finito you." After eating, Dooley got into the bed with the victim and pulled a blanket over him. The victim noticed that the knife she used earlier was at her feet. After she fell asleep, the victim managed to obtain the knife and freed himself. While attempting to get his keys and phone, he bumped into the table, waking her up, and ran into the parking lot for help. And I guess that's where the woman that we just saw in the video noticed him. Responding officers conducted a sweep of Dooley's apartment and found a kitchen knife near the bed, several soaked rags, and blood all over the bathtub. Dooley was arrested and charged with several felonies, including second-degree kidnapping, assault in the second degree, menacing, and false imprisonment. Now, thank God that it seems that the young gentleman will be all right, but this experience will definitely have an effect on him. It has an effect on me even reading it. That's the reason why I'm bringing it to you guys, to make sure that you got to watch your back out here. Now, after doing a little bit more due diligence like I always do, I found out who the story affected, and it was you, homie. But that's the part that you wouldn't even know about unless you did a little bit more digging. The 21-year-old black male victim was not named in the redacted reports. In closing, family, I would never tell you not to date outside your race, because I date outside my race and I haven't had these experiences. So that's not what this story is about. But you got to learn how to move. I think with a lot of younger men in hookup culture, if these guys are getting lucky, they tend to want to go straight to spicy time action. But unfortunately, that's not the world we're living in. When you match with a woman online, it's important that you take the time to really get to know her, because she could have turned out to be just as batshit crazy as this woman was. The dating process is the dating process for a reason, like I mentioned earlier. It's important that you get to know this chick. Look and see who her friends are. Sure, you want to get down to the nitty gritty, but at the end of the day, you don't need to be going to her place just that quick. You need to take time to really know who this woman is, because the same thing could happen to you. Even when I meet women to this day, I don't let women come over my place immediately, and I damn sure ain't going over to their place immediately. I gotta make sure that this woman is sane and in line with things that I'm looking for in a woman. And sure, that may take some time. But at the end of the day, if you think you're just gonna get a quick sloppy toppy session and get lucky between them walls, you gotta be careful, because that's not the world we're living in. And some of these chicks, they done lost their minds a long time ago. But I bring you the real just to make sure you're safe and you're learning how to move. Until next time, gents, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll see you on Monday. Peace.